Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro calling for military unity days after opposition leader Juan Guaido called for an uprising. It's causing chaos throughout Caracas as thousands heed his call. President Trump, speaking with our Trish Regan, said the United States could go into Venezuela to help Guaido.
I've been watching him and watching the moves, and there's a lot of spirit for him, and it is, from a constitutional standpoint, is the way it's supposed to be. He was elected. They should be running it now. At least we could go in and help him a little bit with, and maybe a lot.
Joining me now, Fox News national security analyst Walid Phares. And Walid, obviously, America's certainly there in spirit, but you have to wonder, how could we help? How could we do more, particularly if it involved going into the country?
More than the spirit, basically, is to be on the ground. We've already done a lot. The president, the administration, many in Congress have pushed for the recognition. The recognition occurred. It impacted dozens of countries worldwide, including most here in Latin America and in the hemisphere. Now, beyond that, aid, we are at the border in Colombia. We need to first go through the process of our friends in Brazil and Colombia. They could do much more than what they're doing right now. But at the end of the day, if Maduro uses his armed forces seriously against Guaido and the units supporting Guaido, then I think the president will go in.
What if there isn't really an aggressive military use, just a show of force, pushing around crowds, tear gas, but not an open attack? Then would we be justified in sending in any sort of military aid? And what would the role of this Lima group you alluded to? What would their role be in any military intervention?
Let's begin with the last part of what you said, which is very important, very interesting, and would allow us to do something. Going alone will be perceived as another meddling in another country. But going with the Lima group, with the OAS, the Organization of Latin American States, would be the appropriate thing to do below the United Nations. Now, what can be done? The Brazilians have a large segment of the Venezuelan population as refugees. That is under international law possible to go in and help them. Same goes from Colombia. Right. So we have limited ways to intervene in the beginning based on the refugee question.
I want to ask you about Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota saying that the United States is partly to blame for the situation in Venezuela, saying that the Trump administration, quote, helped lead the devastation. Take a quick listen.
I don't believe that interventions that are pushing for regime change are in the best interest of Venezuela and the best interest of the American people.
So America created the situation there, and it would just be worse if we intervened further.
I am not surprised, my friend, because this narrative, we heard it before on campuses, in the media. We heard something similar by advisors of the previous administration. But now, for the first time, we hear it from actual members of Congress. That is actually creating a shock among many people. This is a position that has been ideological for many decades, many years. Some Americans believe that America is at fault. Some Americans believe, and maybe the congresswoman is part of them, that the real friends are Russia and Iran and, Qatar maybe, and the Muslim Brotherhood. And that's been translated now into statements such as the one we've heard.
Walid Phares, it's always great to have you on. You help explain all of this stuff in a way that makes it easier for us to understand. Thank you.
Thank you.